Hey guys, and down here this is going to be my chapter review to Nanatsu no Taizai of the 7 Deadly Sins, 291, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Now, I've written no points on this chapter, like I don't even have any bullet points or anything, no script that I usually kind of denote my major points from and stuff like that, or a lot of my points from. This is just pure off the cuff, my opinion of the chapter as we go through it. Now, straight away I'm going to tell you that this chapter was a major no. It was just nope. It was a straight nope for me, and I'll get to it. Someone makes a comment at the end of the manga stream, in the manga stream comments, that states exactly why I don't like this chapter and why I had an issue. Now, obviously the cover page with Merlin was raunchy as hell, and I was like, bruh, I don't know how to feel about it, because then we see Merlin's true form once again this chapter, and you're just like, I'm going to prison again. But this chapter was just, I had an issue with it, and I'll come to it. So we start with Zeldris, with Cusack and Chandler walking towards Merlin, saying, "You know what? You're talking big shit for someone who's just like scratched just a little tiny bit, you know." So as they're walking towards her, we have Rudusiel saying, like, these aren't people who you bluff against, and then they get hit, both Cusack and Chandler, by another attack, but this time it's amplified, and they actually get way more damaged. And even Zeldris is shocked. He's like, wait, what the hell is happening? Like, she didn't even move, she didn't make any offensive action at all, and Merlin's just there smug as shit. And you look at Cusack and Chandler, and they're actually damaged, and you're like, what the heck? And Cusack makes mention of the fact that, yo, the damage is increasing, what the hell's going on? So Merlin makes mention here that she's I'm fully fine with this, the fact that she used double impact, which is she said she cast it immediately at the beginning of the fight, and she said it's the spell that disappointed them so, but what it's done is, well, essentially what I assume double impact has done, it wasn't an attack, which is what they assumed it was. It's this kind of this spell that allows wave after wave of spells to occur. So with the first wave, spells containing all manner of attacks based off of the major elements, so the wind, lightning, flame, water, earth attacks possibly, all of these types of attacks are utilized, or actually they're probably not utilized, it's just whichever one is a weakness against who it's being used is selected, and then essentially once it's found out which attack is the weakness, that starts to get amplified in the next wave. So the first thing that happens is Chandler, it's identified that lightning is his weakness, and for Cusack it's wind, which is why there were lightning and wind based attacks. So that's what the first wave was. It combines all these major elements and sees which one is the weakness for this individual. And then the second wave of attacks, or the second wave of magic, kind of further lowers their resistance to each of these vulnerabilities, and then she says that weakening magic is then further amplified by her own power, infinity. So essentially their resistance to these attacks is constantly dropping because of her magic infinity, and I assume the strength of the attacks themselves is also increasing, so they're just getting absolutely wrecked. And you see here that they understand, and it dawns upon them, they're like, oh shit. And Rudusiel at this point literally says, I pray I never have her as my enemy. And I'm just like, no, this is not how you handle Merlin. And considering, by the way, that Chandler, in his base form, bodied the sins, like half of the sins. He bodied Merlin as well, for jokes, and he's in his absolute strongest form at this moment in time. I don't think they're both actually at their most powerful in terms of. I don't think all of their strength is returned to them. There was mention before of Merlin saying something about their magic being sealed. But the fact that Rudusiel's like, yo, I hope I'd never have her as my enemy. I'm like, look, I get it. Merlin is powerful as shit, and she's a sin and all that. She's the last survivor of the city of Belialuin and stuff like that. But she is not top tier. She is not on the level of these two are two of the topmost demons. They are beneath the Demon King just by a fraction, just because he's freaking king. They'd probably put up a good fight against the Demon King, to be fair. And she's over here bodying these guys. So we'll get to the bodying. So we have Chandler about to use absolute cancel, and basically he just gets blown away by some lightning, and he's been bloodied big time. And Cusack's there like wondering where the hell this attack came from. Then he gets bloodied up by another attack, and essentially they both just get absolutely demolished by wave after wave of these attacks, with their resistance falling to these attacks, and I assume the strength of these attacks rising. That might not be the issue. I don't think the strength of the issue, the strength of the attacks is rising, both lightning and wind attacks, but I feel like I don't think that's been stated, but I think that is the current state of affairs. So their resistance is definitely falling, though, like infinitely, constantly falling after each attack. So that's why they're getting more and more damaged, but I think the strength of the attacks is also rising. So Merlin then says that this entire space has been set up with like booby traps of essentially all these invisible lightning and wind spells to automatically react to any form of movement, any form of speech that they might say, specific types of speech, any incantations, all of that stuff, and it will continue to react because of her ability, Infinity. So they're shitting their pants, and they're just getting absolutely demolished. They literally just get wrecked, and she basically tells them like, this is going to continue until you die. So they, through this chapter and for the next like however many pages, are useless. These two top class demons cannot lift a finger against Merlin, who beforehand was nothing in the face of them. She couldn't hack Chandler by her wands, but she couldn't hack Chandler with the rest of the sins, and now with one glimpse of what Chandler can do, and he wasn't even at his full power then, she's able to fully body both of them, both Cusack and Chandler, and she hasn't ever encountered Cusack in a fight before. So Ruduciel is surprised as shit. He's like, yo, what the hell's going on? And Merlin, this is the part that really annoys me. She's like, oh, I hardly know myself, you know, I took this dual element attack magic and then just improvised. So basically she's chatting shit. She doesn't really know what she did. She just kind of, you know, did things on the fly and it worked out for the best. This is the biggest bullshit I've seen in my life. Like, oh yeah, it just happened to work out. Yeah. Against two top class demons, that's simply not good enough. And I'm calling out Nakaba for this. This is straight bullshit. I do not approve of this in any way. And she's like, yeah, I just messed around. You know, I just threw a whole bunch of stuff into the cauldron, added the Infinity to it, and that was about it. Like, I'm wrecking two of the most powerful characters in the verse just because of that. And Ruduciel is like, yo, that can't be fair. That's because it's not fair. It's bullshit writing. Straight up, it's bullshit writing. I mean, like, there is no other explanation. Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the fact that Merlin has this ability called Infinity, and she basically can equip it to magical spells and like her own magic as well, her own body and stuff like that, to make it infinite. So she has essentially infinite reserves of magic. But I mean, like, I just don't like the way that this has been done. Escanor asks how she was able to like set these booby traps up, and she's like, oh, I did it while I was teleporting away from Zoldris's ominous nebula. Ruduciel refuses to heal Gilthunder because he was trying to maintain his reserves of magical energy. So then we see Cusack and Chandler both just like face planted on the floor, and they're ashamed of themselves. They're like, oh my god, we're getting bodied by this human. So as we see like half of Merlin's left ass cheek, Cusack gets up and he's just grinning, and then he uses his ability called Resonant, which is what he actually used on Arthur to possess him and stab himself. So he uses this on Merlin, and he's essentially what he's expecting. And Chandler's like, yeah, we've won this. He's going to take over Merlin's body and then get rid of the booby traps and stuff like that, get rid of her spells and cancel Infinity. And then they'd be able to get up and just kick the shit out of him. So here Cusack sees Merlin's true form, and he's there threatening her like, I'm just going to get rid of this magical bullet that you've used and stuff like that. And this is the second part. Like, this is just piling on the bullshit on top of, like, it's just a nasty kind of stew of bullshit piled on top of bullshit, a tower burger of bullshit. Here Merlin, for some reason, is able to fight within her own consciousness. She punches Cusack, and then she just stands on top of him. She's like, oh, I already calculated that you would try to possess me. And I'm like, you know what, that's fair. That part's fair, because she'd seen it done to Arthur, but I'm not sure if she was aware of who did it to Arthur, because Cusack wasn't there. So maybe she inferred this somehow because she'd seen Chandler and he hadn't ever used that ability. So she's then asking him, like, you know, on top of the supreme, she tells Cusack, on top of the supreme deity's blessing, she also was bestowed with strengthening of her soul and spirit. So essentially she can't be possessed because her soul and spirit are too strong. This is bullshit. If it was mentioned back when she mentioned like the abilities that she gained from the supreme deity and the demon king, even then it would have been a little bit of hacks. But this is just bullshit. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, something else I gained from these guys was the fact that I can't be possessed by you, and you happen to possess this ability specifically. So I mean, like, I just really don't like how this has been executed at all. Merlin essentially can't be touched by two of the most powerful characters in the verse, and she was bodied by Galen, she was bodied by Chandler earlier, alongside her half of the sins. Who else has she been bodied by? I can't even remember, but yeah, so essentially she's now like, she's doing one of those ones where, oh, the tables have turned, you've stepped into my domain and stuff like that, and she's going to take her time like weeding out all of this information about Arthur's grudge. Now she refers to it as Arthur's grudge. I assumed Arthur was dead. She might have like put him in some sort of suspended animation or some shit, but essentially she's going to try and revive Arthur through gaining knowledge of Cusac's ability, which is resonant. So it's at this point where Chandler, you just see him getting absolutely demolished, and he says, if this keeps up, and then he doesn't continue, but you assume he says, if this keeps up, I'm dead. Zelrus comes in and like swipes away all the traps that are like around the area using the Demon King's magical ability. Using the Demon King's ability to cancel magic. Yeah, so was that the Demon King's ability to cancel? His ability was to inverse everything. So he uses that, and he gets rid of all these traps that have been set up, but he's not in a good state. He wobbles a bit, and in this wobble, we get Rudusiel come and slice him one more time. So with that, all three like top class demons are down. I don't have an issue with Zelrus being down. He was bodied. He was up against Escanor the One. I mean, like, the One is basically untouchable for that 1 minute. And Rudusiel got a good hit on him while he was already severely injured. Albeit the fact that he was only ever attacked by Rudusiel once, and that seemed to put him away. I mean, like, come on, Zelda should be stronger than that. I mean, I realize he was also fingered heavily by the One, so that would be where I assume most of his damage came from. But he should have been able to sustain a few attacks from Rudusiel and been able to tank it. But then we also have to remember that the Archangels are worth around 2 commandments, and Zelrus is a commandment. Although he is also the brother of Meliodas and the son of the Demon King, so there should be some unequal weighting within the 10 commandments. With that, Chandler is down, Zelrus is down, Cusack is down, and Rudusiel's then laughing his ass off. He's like, yeah, I finally put an end to this war. Margaret's boob size has increased like dramatically suddenly. I'm not sure what Rudusiel is doing in that body, but I'm not complaining. And then we have Rudusiel saying, are you watching me, Mael? And suddenly Merlin touches her head. Rudusiel's touching, while Rudusiel's suddenly like, Rudusiel actually looks like Merlin at this point in time, but she's got the goddess eyes, or he's got the goddess eyes. I thought this was Merlin, and I was like, why is Merlin blonde? But essentially, this is the point in time when Esterosa's real identity comes back to everyone, and they all realize that Mael is actually still alive, and Esterosa was never someone who existed to begin with. Mael has always been alive and has assumed the role of Esterosa for the last 3,000 years. So yeah, with that, apparently some major shit's gonna go down. I think the chapter says something along the lines of a complete reversal of perception and realization, and Mael's revival will bring disaster upon even them. Now, I'm not too sure exactly how this revival will change the situation. I mean, like, surely his revival will only amp up someone like Rudusiel even more. You know, he's gonna be like, yes, let's go and demolish Meliodas now that my brother's back, the strongest of us is back, especially at high noon. So yeah, I don't understand where exactly this is gonna go, but it's a little bit different how I thought it was gonna it's very different how I thought it was gonna turn out. I mean, in the one of the chapters we've seen previously, the early release, or an earlier release, we saw all 3 of the demons were fine when all these memories returned, but apparently that's not the way it's turned out. So people seem to be generally okay. I mean, judging by the comments that Merlin was able to do this. Someone said, Cusack says, I call hacks. That was Midnight Zero. But yeah, there are quite a few people who are also mentioning the fact that, you know, when characters within a manga are calling out someone's abilities and saying they're straight up hacked, that's usually a telltale sign of maybe this ability is too powerful. I just don't think it's very good story writing to have. Like, if there's a character that everyone avoids because of their abilities or stuff like that, that's cool. But she's straight up bodied two of the strongest people in the verse. I do not agree with any of that. It's just straight bullshit for me. And let me actually read a comment. Who was it by? It's by a guy called Yoshikage Dragon, and he says he's loving interesting abilities in fights that are like more than I punch you or I punch harder than you, which is why he enjoys JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and stuff like that. But there is a difference between having a smart character with an interesting ability and someone who can pull out power after power after power after power, and that's usually referred to as an ass pull. Someone who can just continuously just like yank that shit out and just throw it at you like a freaking monkey at the zoo. Essentially, the issue I have with Merlin, and what this guy is saying as well, Yoshikage Dragon, and what a lot of people actually reiterate many times over, is the fact that Merlin can practically do anything she wants, but is pretty inconsistent with this feat. She'll get wrecked by Galen, and she'll get wrecked by Chandler when she's alongside all of the half of the commandments. She'll teleport, like, what was her name, Vivian, across 50 different dimensions, and doesn't do that to anybody else. But she never does this to anybody else. Again, like I said, she gets petrified by Galen and stuff like that, and then she remembers she's immune to it. I'm like, that I didn't like that to begin with. And I just really don't like how inconsistent Merlin has been portrayed. Like, is she powerful? Is she not? And if she's powerful, cool, make her powerful, but don't let her just body people who are meant to be exceptionally stronger than her. And people are like, oh yeah, she's had like 3,000 years where she was able to like grow into her own magical abilities and stuff like that. But we don't even know how old Chandler and Cusack are, and they are deemed as two of the eldest of the Demon Clan, possibly alongside the Demon King. We don't know his age, but look at the age of the Demon King, and then they're saying that these guys are really old as well. These guys are really old. Like, they must be as old as Merlin is, at least. So, like, that's not really, age isn't really an argument here, I don't think. It's just that, yeah, Merlin is essentially like, she's the Bleach character of, and I'm gonna make that comparison again. She's the Bleach character of Nanatsu no Taizai. Like, someone will pop out with an ability and she'll be like, haha, but I have this ability, and they'll be like, oh shit, but I can cancel that ability, and she'll be like, nah, I'm Infinity, I can just do what I want, you know. So Merlin is that hacks character, that very kind of Aizen with the Hogyoku character, you know, like, I'm getting wrecked, suddenly evolution, and you're just like, shit, well, how do you destroy that? And then it's like, you know, it's the reason why I'm going to be defeated is because the Hogyoku freaking decided, nah, you're not the one for me, we ain't getting engaged. And you're just like, this is bullshit. Like, this is straight bullshit. Like, Aizen was a hacks character anyway because it was Kyokusoi gets and stuff like that, but Merlin is that character for Nanatsu no Taizai. This review has gone on way too long. And I can't even put into words, like, I'm quite frustrated, but I can't even put into words how many issues there are with Merlin, in the sense that she's very inconsistent and her abilities allow her to be incredibly powerful, but you can't just pick and choose when you want. I mean, at this point in time, Merlin could realistically just demolish anyone. And then the fact that she's just receiving multiple different benefits, I mean, like, she's getting like workers' benefits, pensions, all that shit from the Supreme Deity and the Demon King. I mean, like, come on, man. I mean, like, cinema tickets already cost you £1. Why do you have like mind control shit going on as well? That's bullshit. So I did not like this chapter. This is obviously, like, I enjoyed the fight and stuff like that just from a viewer's perspective, and it was well drawn and everything. I mean, like, Merlin on the cover page, whew, I mean, like, Margaret later on, you're just like, damn. But the chapter was a fail. I really did not like this chapter. Grimm's gonna watch this review and he's gonna possibly, I hope he agrees with me. I hope Grimm watches this and agrees with me, and I hope a lot of the other guys who check out Taizai and who read Taizai on the reg agree with me, like Kishin and everybody else that checks out Taizai. So let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of this review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'm giving this like a 1 out of 5, a 0 out of 5. I like just because of Merlin wrecking the story for me, wrecking these characters that should have. That's all I'm gonna say. Let me know what you guys thought, and I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow when I release my My Hero Academia belated review. So I'll see you guys in a bit.